holding a pill in your hand that makes all diseases, pains, and problems in your life just melt away. Now imagine having this ability already inside of you at this very moment. What if I told you that you do, and that these benefits are real, and the power of the pill is your mind? This is not science fiction. This is science. This is reality. This is the placebo effect. Would you like to learn dozens of little-known principles and techniques of psychology used and known by the world's highest paid scientists and researchers? If you said yes, this video will open a whole new world for you. This video will teach you all the secrets of the placebo effect known by the masters of science and psychology. You'll hear about the unbelievable story of Mr. Right, and you'll even learn about placebos not related to medicine. And it doesn't matter who you are, because you're going to learn right here in this fascinating video how to tap into the power of the mind like a highly paid scientific researcher. Truth is, you and I are influenced by these techniques more than you think. While you're at work or going about your daily life, companies and organizations are spending billions of dollars to understand the power of these influential techniques. Your mind can be an extremely powerful force when given the opportunity. The placebo effect, the phenomenon of your brain convincing your body a non-existent treatment is the real thing. The highest ranking and most well-respected industries and institutes in medicine, education, and science know the placebo to be true. Institutes such as Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Oxford. A placebo is a treatment or medication that has no medical properties at all, but it's our belief in the placebo drug or treatment that can make it work. Larger pills have a stronger effect than smaller pills. 2 tablets are more effective than 1. Having a feeling of science about the placebo makes them work best of all, best when branded in official looking boxes and taking 4 times a day. Placebo capsules are more effective than placebo pills, and an injection more effective than a capsule, and a fake surgery can have some of the most astonishing results of all. Experts have shown placebos don't just work by making us say we feel better, they produce a whole range of specific neurobiological effects. Brain imaging studies have found measurable changes in the neural activity of people experiencing a placebo. Placebo treatments are as old as medicine itself. You would think that after being aware of the placebo effect for centuries, we'd surely know everything there is to know about it. But this isn't the case. We still know shockingly little about what it actually is, and we even know less about what we can do to produce it on demand. You can't help but wonder, why? Why hasn't it been researched more completely? Why don't you know more about it? What could be the reason for this? What exactly don't you know? The question is not, is there a placebo effect? But the question is, what can you do to consciously, deliberately harness that effect to your advantage? And that is what you're about to find out. Some of the stories and facts you're about to hear are so shocking and mind-blowing that you can hardly believe what you're hearing. The most famous example is the curious case of Mr. Right. Mr. Right was a cancer patient in the mid-1950s who had lymphosarcoma, a cancer of the lymph nodes. Eventually, he reached the point where no treatments would work, no medications, and no chemotherapy. Mr. Right looked like a picture of death. Huge tumor masses the size of giant oranges were in his neck, groin, chest, and abdomen. His liver and spleen were enormous, and between 1 and 2 liters of milky fluid had to be drawn from his chest every other day. He was taking oxygen by mask frequently, and the impression was that he was terminally ill and going to die. In spite of all of this, Mr. Right was not without hope. The reason for this was a new drug called carbimazine, which he expected to come along and save the day. Mr. Right begged so hard to be part of the exclusive test treatments, and despite doctors initially refusing, due to him being too sick with his cancer, they eventually agreed. Mr. Right got his first injection on Friday, and when the doctor came back Monday, fully expecting to see him dead from cancer, he saw the surprise of his life instead. When the doctor had left on Friday, Mr. Right was near death, gasping for air, completely bedridden. Now, here he was, walking around the ward, chatting up nurses and spreading his positivity to anyone who would listen. No one else who had received the test treatments had seen any improvements, only Mr. Wright. His tumor masses had melted like snowballs on a hot stove and were already half the size, and within 10 days, he was able to be discharged from what was thought to be his deathbed, with practically all signs of his disease having vanished in a short time. Not only was he healthy, active, and now breathing fine, the once terminally ill Mr. Wright was now flying his plane at 12,000 feet with no discomfort. This unbelievable recovery occurred at the beginning of the Corbiasin evaluation phase, but within 2 months, reports began appearing in the news, with all other testing clinics reporting no positive results. This disturbed Mr. Wright considerably as the weeks wore on. This had been his last hope, and all of this discouraging news about Corbiasin had made him start to lose faith, even though so far it had been life-saving and had left nothing to be desired. As the reported results in the news became increasingly dismal, his faith waned, and after 2 months of practically perfect health, he relapsed to his original state, became very gloomy and miserable. When Mr. Wright had all but given up hope due to the recurrence of his disease, doctors decided to take a chance and try something to help him. So, deliberately lying, doctors decided to tell him not to believe what he had read in the papers. The drug was actually very promising after all. When Mr. Wright asked, "What then was the reason for my relapse?" the doctors replied that the drug deteriorated over time, but a new, super refined, double-strength product is due to arrive tomorrow, which can more than reproduce the benefits you received from your original injections. This news came as a great revelation to Mr. Wright, and, as sick as he was, he became his optimistic self again, eager to start over. By pretending there was going to be a delay of a couple days before the shipment arrived, his anticipation of being saved was now tremendous. When doctors announced his new injections were about to begin, Mr. Wright was ecstatic, and his optimism was incredibly high. With much fanfare, and putting on quite the act, doctors then administered the first injections of the doubly potent wonder drug, which in reality consisted of nothing more than fresh water. The results of this experiment were quite unbelievable. Recovery from his second near-terminally ill state was even more dramatic than the first. The tumor masses melted, chest fluid vanished, and he regained his ability to walk, and he even went back to flying again. At this time, he was certainly the picture of good health. The water injections continued, since they worked such wonders, and Mr. Wright remained symptom-free for over 2 months. At this time, the final official announcement appeared in the press, stating, nationwide tests show Corbiasin to be a worthless drug in the treatment of cancer. Within a few days of this report, Mr. Wright was readmitted to the hospital in extremely bad condition. His faith was now gone. His last hope had vanished, and less than 2 days later, he died. But it gets more interesting. Placebos aren't just confined to medicine. No, according to one study, it's possible to get drunk from a placebo alcohol drink. In a separate study, participants facing a glaring light were able to read printed words quicker and more accurately when wearing sunglasses tagged as Ray-Bans compared to when the identical pair of sunglasses were tagged with a less prestigious brand. Similarly, the same researchers found that earmuffs block noise more effectively, and chamomile tea improved mental focus more when the products carried more well-known names. Research also shows that price matters with placebos. The more a placebo costs, the more belief we put into it. Location can also affect the placebo. The same placebo, for instance, given in the US, can have a different result compared to being when given in Germany. Oddly enough, you can even experience withdrawal effects from placebos, just as if the drug you were taking were real. Animals can even experience the placebo effect, most notably dogs being treated for epilepsy. Amazingly, simply changing the color of the placebo changes the effect of the placebo, as you'll learn later. Doctors in Texas conducted placebo knee surgeries where doctors pretended to operate, but without actually doing anything. Incredibly, years after the surgery, patients who underwent the fake surgery reported the same amount of relief from pain and swelling and had the same mobility as those who had the real operations. Now, the opposite of the placebo effect is the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect. Nocebo implies that patients are more likely to experience a negative effect if they are worried about or expect the negative effect. These effects are then physically experienced by the patient, and these effects are often clinically diagnosable. The more a patient is told something is harmful to their health, especially from a trusted and reliable source, the more strongly they believe it to be true. This can lead to patients physically manifesting the exact negative outcomes they now believe to be true. Pharmaceutical companies these days are spending billions of dollars on researching ways on how to outperform the placebo, but practically next to no money researching ways to use the powers of the placebo to activate the body's natural ability to heal itself. They have a reason for this. Big Pharma is big business, and they understand the placebo more than anyone else. They have to. The placebo effect is almost as old as the practice of medicine itself, but it wasn't until the 1960s that placebo-controlled trials became the norm in the approval of new medications. Fast forward to nowadays, and the placebo is the gold standard against which treatments are compared to in clinical trials. The newly developed drugs are tested against the placebo pills to see if they are truly effective or if the benefits are only a result of the power of the placebo effect. But because the mind is so strong and mysterious, even with all their time, effort, and billions of dollars spent, only about 1 in 10 new drugs pass this test perform better than the placebo pill. Which means, if we translate that 9 out of 10 times the belief inside your mind provides just as much, if not more of a medical benefit than a pharmaceutically developed drug. Recently, something even more strange and peculiar is beginning to happen. More drugs are failing against the placebo test than ever before. The success rate has fallen by more than 20% in the first phase of testing and by 11% in the second phase of testing. It's not that medications are getting weaker, drug developers say. It's as if somehow the placebo effect is getting stronger. Now, pharmaceutical companies understand all the numerous benefits and the powers of the placebo when it comes to using it to their advantage. There's a whole science behind it, different colors for different ailments. Blue pills act best as sedatives, red and orange are stimulants, yellows make the most effective antidepressants, while green reduces anxiety and white soothes pain. Brighter colors and having brand names on the pills further strengthen these effects. A bright yellow pill with its name on the surface, for example, may have a stronger effect than a dull yellow pill without it. You might be thinking, surely color can't be that important. Now, imagine burning your skin for a second and treating the pain with a cream. Is your imaginary cream white? Now picture it red. Would you trust the cream to work as well? If you had a moment of pause there, you're not alone. Now, let's review what you've learned so far. You've learned that it's scientifically required to test against the power of the placebo, or, in other words, you've learned science has to test against your mind's thoughts, your own beliefs, and the power of your mind. You've learned scientists quite literally have to test powerful drugs against the thoughts in your brain. What a truly profound concept when you think about what that means. Do you want to know how to tap into these astonishing abilities for your own life? The first thing to know is the placebo effect isn't magic. It's not magic at all. What it is simply a part of the brain that's producing the beneficial effect that's not directly related to the treatment you receive. But how do you claim this power for yourself? By acknowledging the power of your mindset. But what is the best mindset to have? Mindsets of this won't work or this always works do matter. They can matter greatly in shaping results and outcomes. The placebo effect is partly the body's natural ability to heal itself with time, and partly the effect of your mindset and how you are viewing and perceiving the treatment, which will in turn evoke, create, and activate the healing process in your body. This is everything from the doctor's credentials, bedside manner, medical ritual, to the branding of the drugs and the sensory experience you undergo every time you take a drug. Whether it's swallowing a tablet or capsule, chewing a tablet, swallowing a liquid, or applying a cream or ointment. It's everything that shapes your mindset and activates your body's natural healing abilities. Other factors that shape the outcome are words of the doctor, things the doctor did, and what you thought of the doctor. Two of the biggest factors according to social psychology in which we judge people are their warmth and competence. It's all about perception. What does this tell you? Mindset is important. Very important. Not only that this treatment will work, but this treatment will work because I'm in good hands. This could be even more important than the mind's positive belief. The doctor is the placebo, or very well can be. Doctors can be forces of healing or forces of fear. When the doctor tells you that you have an incurable illness, or you're going to have to take this medication for the rest of your life, or you have a 5% 5-year survival rate, it's a form of medical hexing. Changes in words and actions can produce measurably better health outcomes. Maybe you're thinking, the more I learn about placebos, surely the less effective the placebos will be, right? Not exactly. Studies show that even when subjects learn that the treatment was a placebo, the positive results do not all go away. What you have learned about how to heal yourself can very well remain with you. Patients who got placebos and were told it was a placebo still got better. a large part is because they felt tended to, nurtured, and felt like someone was there to care for them and to help with the process, which strengthened their belief in a positive recovery. So how can you give yourself a placebo besides taking a fake pill? By strengthening your belief in a positive outcome or recovery. Engage in the ritual of healthy living, sleeping well, eating healthy, exercising regularly, improving your self-talk, doing yoga, going out with friends, consuming positive media, reading a list of your favorite quotes, meditation, avoiding too much negative news, having gratitude, getting fresh air, surrounding yourself with people that match your desired mindset, and laughing are all extremely effective ways. Just the act of doing these things will produce the positive belief in your mind that you are healthy and happy, which may be as beneficial as the actual activities themselves, which will boost your state of mind and optimize your mindset, and in turn, the placebo effect.